Welcome back to Area DMG. I'm your host, Wobbley the Mile High Mouth, and for today's episode of Area DMG for Suki Nihon, we're looking at episode 11 of season 4 of Steven Universe, Adventures in Light Distortion. This particular episode takes place after the last one, Steven's dreams, where Greg was abducted by Blue Diamond, and Steven returns to tell Pearl and Amethyst about Greg getting abducted. Steven decides to lament about why Greg was abducted. Is she going to eat him? Is she going to put him in some kind of human zoo? And then Pearl mentions Pink Diamond's Insidious Human Zoo. Step right up, folks, and see Pink Diamond's Insidious Human Zoo.
That's right, Pink Diamond's Insidious Human Zoo.
Anyways, she tells him about it. It's like, oh, it couldn't be. Oh. And I'm like, well, that's Pearl. Anywho, they decide to take the Ruby Eye, or rather the Ruby ship, into space. Finally. I mean, they've had this for kind of a while, several episodes, and I was like, why aren't they in space? Why aren't they going into space? They should do some stuff in space. They should go to the moon again and take a look at that area and get clues and things in space. Go to space. Don't stop beating around the bush about it. Just go to space. Regular shows in space, and that's great. Steven Universe should be in space because that could potentially also be great. But yeah, so they decide to go into space. Peridot looks over the ship, and apparently they didn't pay Lapis to say anything, so thumbs up. And on that one, apparently, like, they didn't pay her to say anything, so that's pretty much what just happens, just thumbs up. So Steven then tells Lapis, Peridot, and Connie to watch the Earth while they are away, and they head into space, where they hit a little bit of a meteor shower or meteor turbulence and run into at least 3 of the rubies, which is pretty funny. One of them hits the screen, and it was pretty amusing. Anywho, when that happens, Garnet's all like, well, we should really do something about that. Yeah, I think it's nice when they reference these little loose ends that they tend to leave in this show, or things where they're like, yeah, we're not addressing this at this particular thing, we'll just have another. That's kind of what happens when you have different writers working on the same show and you don't have a lot of coordination between all of them. There's like some general coordination, but sometimes I feel like communication needs to be improved. Anyways, they're in the ship, and then Pearl's like, yeah, this will just take us 70 years, 70 human years to get to where they're going. So, I was looking at that and I was like, wait, 70 human years of travel. Let's pretend for a moment that they're cruising at about light speed, which is 186,000 miles per second. Light speed doesn't cover, rather, light years does not cover time. It covers distance. Traveling at the speed of light would be, like I said, 186,000 miles per second. Light years are about, if they're traveling at roughly light speed, they're going to a place that is about, let's see, 410 trillion, 598 billion, 720 million, 0.00000 light years, like miles away, or 410 trillion miles from Earth. Almost 3 times the distance that the Orion Nebula, or M42, or the Horsehead Nebula, is from Earth. So, they remember that Peridot mentioned a gravity engine in the ship that might be able to alter the space-time definition of speed. Of course, Pearl thinks that the G-forces from that might flatten Steven, which it's a decent concern because we have to think of this in terms of thrust. But when you're talking about faster than light travel, is there really momentum at that point? we're not sure. I mean, general relativity, or what Stephen Hawking proposed about the event horizon and black holes, states that nothing can move past that thing. And at that point, if you are trying to move faster than the speed of light, basic physics would break down. Meaning that instead of like having a intense momentum or intense g-forces, at that point, if you're looking at string theory, wouldn't you just be phasing in and out of reality at that point? You're not actually moving forward, you're moving bop, bop. Kind of like, here's your endpoint destination, and here's where you are. Instead of moving from where you are to the endpoint destination, you're just doing this, bop, bop. You are literally phasing not from that. You're folding the nature of it in on itself. Technically, I like the fact that when he hits that button and it starts to go into it starts to go a little bit faster. You can see it kind of constricting a little bit against its own stuff, like it's trying to fold into itself. Anyways, this causes all sorts of weird little adverse effects to the crystal gems' bodies because they're made out of light. They're refractions or reflections of light. They're not a solid mass for the most part. They're light you can touch. Yeah. Anywho, Pearl explains this because Stephen messing around with the gravity engine accidentally makes them, quote, ruby-sized, end quote, which is pretty funny. Which gets me, were they traveling at the speed of light beforehand when she gave him the 70-year thing? Or are they traveling at that point? And by going a little faster than that, are they just different? Is the gravity and the atmosphere inside the ship being modulated in one way out from the it's got some weird stuff to it, and we'll just kind of chalk it up for science fiction, just like, okay, whatever, this is what they're doing. Anyways, Stephen eventually gets frustrated trying to fix this because the crystal gems are getting squished and stretched and squashed into all sorts of types of forms, and he accidentally turns off the gravity engine's regulator, meaning it just goes just as fast as it can. This leads to a 2001 A Space Oddity style sequence where he is just distorted against what's happening, and that's amusing. Eventually, though, this causes him to be alone because the idea that he's moving faster than light speed causes garnet, pearl, amethyst, ruby, and sapphire to just revert back to their gem types because that's the only solid mass on them, where everything else is pushed out through behind the back of the ship. Kind of the idea that instead of when they're going through faster than the speed of light, they're phasing through stuff where they're dragged behind it. Of course, this kind of goes with the idea that there's momentum with that. When actuality, faster than light travel might be, boom, I'm here, whoop, whoop, I'm here. Essentially, kind of like the folding of a piece of paper or a book, as in, here is how far you are away from something, and then you're moving, literally moving those to that. You're moving the destination, not the actual ship. That might not make too much sense to people. Wait, let me think of this. Instead of you moving in place or you running to some place, everything around you moves to where you are located. The basic idea of string theory, of multiverses and such, is that you're not really moving from one location in the physical space. You're moving the physical space around you to your location, which is technically what they're doing. So there wouldn't be that extreme speed or that blurring. You know what? This is something that maybe we should all dissect in the comments below. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Anyway, Stephen's left alone with his thoughts and realizes, haste makes waste, and he has pushed everyone a little bit further than he should have, and not been as prepared as he should have. They did not prepare a plan. There's no plan. And what happens is that Stevens kind of freaks out about that a little bit, And then eventually he gets the gravity engine back online, the the modulation back online, and cut their trip down to about 70 years. He cut that trip short to a point where they are just right there, just in time to enter the human zoo in the next episode. And I like how that human zoo looks. It looks like a giant pink sword with a broad blade to it. Kind of cool. And that's where the episode ends. I didn't have too many notes on this one. Just I would like to state that Stephen Hawking and his little his thoughts on the event horizon and the black hole were kind of a thorn in my side for the longest time, because I was like, okay, in order for this to actually work, this type of leaping travel to work, he has to be wrong. And then you have a general consensus among science where like, oh no, he's not wrong. And then eventually he came out and said, yeah, I'm kind of wrong. And then we have science now that says, yeah, you were wrong. Basic idea is there is no such thing as consensus in science. There are accepted theories that people base their thesis on, but more people basing their thesis on the same theory does not mean that theory is technically correct. Remember, this is the same type of science that gave us humors or all sorts of other types of theories. Like humors is a really fun one. You should go check out the When Science Gets It Wrong panel that we taped. It's on Area DMG in our Science and Education panels playlist. Excellent. Goes over all sorts of great little misconceptions in science. Now, I do feel that the way the gravity engine works does remind me a little bit of Mass Effect, so I'm guessing these people played that one. So, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a pretty decent little episode. Some humorous images there, but it felt like you could have condensed the entirety of their trip down into half of an episode, and maybe, yeah, I feel like this one just goes a little bit longer than it really needed to. It's funny though, like the whole stretching and squashing and such, that's funny. And they got pretty much a lot of exposition out of the way, and the music is fine. And there's that pretty funny part with the rubies. But yeah, I thought it was an okay episode. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this episode. Go ahead and share this with your Steven Universe loving friends or Steven Universe hating friends, because I am pretty critical of the show, even though I do like it. And hit that thumbs up. Go ahead and like this if you haven't already. Go ahead and share it if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring that bell to know whenever we put out another video. And until the next video comes out, you are now caught up.
I want my money. Anybody else with me? I want my money.